Welcome to Millennial Z and Boomer X. I am Boomer X,
And I am Millennial Z.
and today we're talking about red flags when dating. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And if you're on any of our podcast platforms, please subscribe so we can bring you more of these shows. But red flags on dating, I'm sure we will have many of the same ones, even though we are 25 plus years apart.
Yeah,
But with your outlook on it, oh, and I want to be clear, this is dating with an intention to form a relationship. You're looking for a
yeah, long
potential,
term.
yeah, you're looking for a potential partner.
Hmm.
What red flags do you look for? If you're just there for a good time and not a long time, you have different choices and things you're looking for. So,
Yeah, a lot of these might not be a problem for you.
yeah, well, many of these won't be applicable. And if somebody's dangerous, then you're just going to jettison them anyway,
Hmm.
and that, or they're just a horrible person to be around. That's going to be pretty obvious, and that's going to be up to each and every person to make that decision. And we could talk about a different podcast about those things, for those signs. But for red flags when dating for long-term purposes, there are certain things that people look at or ignore because they like this person so much for whatever reason that they just won't see the red flag, or they'll just reason or rationale it away that, oh, it's just this, or oh, it's just that, and just continue on. But their gut's telling them different, or their friends are telling them different, or their family's telling them different.
Hmm. Sure. Yeah, that happens a lot where no, they're fine. And then family and friends are quite often telling them that's an issue. That's definitely an issue.
Right, right. And that's my first red flag. If everybody that you trust and trust you, and you formed some emotional bond with them, your close friends and family, tells you you need to get away from that person, that's a huge red flag. Get away from
Yeah,
that person. I'm going to tell you, I don't care how much you think you love them, or how much they don't understand them, or all these things you're thinking about to make an excuse for them, because your brain is flooded with chemicals and you can't think straight. So
hmm
just take their advice and cut them loose. And it
yeah. I
is,
never thought about that one. That's definitely a good one. I've never had that happen to me. I've never had, I mean, any either you or mom or anybody around me to say, okay, you should definitely not be with that person. But if that did happen, 100%, I
well,
would take that very heavily.
yeah, you have had eyes open kind of things and talks with me over the years. So you pretty much know what to look for. And if you're
Hmm.
going in, you're knowing what to expect. So if you don't cut somebody loose because of a red flag, you know it's on you, I think,
Hmm.
at this point.
Yeah.
So you can maintain a little bit of objectivity. But I'm going to tell you that's hard to do. I mean, you become blinded to somebody, but that is a definite red flag, and one that many people have a hard time with,
Hmm.
even though they know better.
Yeah. I would say off of that end, if you have a lot of their family trying to push you away, that's a
Yeah,
red flag.
that is the other side of the coin. I would
Yeah.
definitely say that, even if you and the potential partner get along very, very well, think long and hard about the fact that if you do decide to form a long-term relationship, get married or whatever, they are going to hate you and treat you like garbage. And
Yeah.
how is that partner going to react? Are they willing to cut them loose completely to
Right.
be with you? And if they are, why are they doing that? I mean, that's a giant step, unless her family's totally crazy and toxic and a bunch
Yeah.
of convicts and other
Druggies
things.
or constantly
Yeah,
trying to get
yeah,
money from you.
yeah. Unless there has to be a real big reason for them, and that's one of my other red flags. What's their family like?
Hmm.
You're going to form a long-term bond and join with that person, and if their family is everyone that you can't stand, all of them, and they don't like you, eventually it's likely that they are going to, that's what they grew up with. That's how they know how to be, and that's how they think. for whatever reason, even if, oh, they're not like that. The back of their mind is like that. And I'm not going to tell you, I mean, there's always exceptions. We're speaking in generalities. And I'm not saying kick them loose immediately. That's not a
Mhm.
black flag thing for me, but that's a definite red flag. That's something you need to consider deeply and look at it.
Yeah, I would say, and I've experienced this more often. I would safely assume men find this specific situation than women do because of women trying to be hypergamy. They try to get somebody more, and men look for just beauty. They look for more looks wise. We're a lot more shallow in that aspect of it. Just if you're
Yeah,
pretty,
we do gravitate toward looks, but even then, there's that old saying that no matter how gorgeous she is, somebody's sick of her. So personality
or
does have something to play with it. If they have a bad personality, it's going to wear on you, no matter how beautiful you think someone is. If they're just a horrible person to be around, eventually you just can't stand it.
mhm.
Um,
What I'm getting at is they're making a stepping stone of you being the ladder for them to get to another bracket in life as they see it. So
oh,
it might be
using you as a tool to better their life,
yeah, and it might
right?
not even be. I mean, it could be coexisting beneficial, So that I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying more often men are going to find this situation where the families of their partner, if it's a woman, might not be in the same class bracket as they're used to, which might cause a bunch of culture problems as well.
Oh, I don't know. I can see that going both ways. You might see that at your age, I guess. I don't see
I've
that at
witnessed it
my.
multiple times, so
Yeah, yeah. I don't see that at my age very much. Everybody kind of goes in whatever circles they're in. They don't,
mhm,
and the circles change and break down, and you kind of realize that people are people, and you have certain things that you need to look for in a partner that you want. So at my age, that's not as big as a indicator for me, but I do think you have a good point, especially at yours. But bottom line, if their family can't stand you or you can't stand them,
yeah,
everybody you meet on their side of the family just annoys you to death, or something about them, you just can't be around them for any length of time. That is definitely an issue
yeah, you
that
need
you
to
need
bring
to
it up,
consider.
and
Right.
conditions need to be made, and ultimatums might have to be
Right.
introduced for
But
the
this is
relationship.
right, but this is far down we're talking about after
Yeah,
you're being introduced to all these people and you've been dating a while, and your attachments have been formed and you're at stage 2 or 3 of the relationship at that point.
right.
I want to talk about stage 1, getting to know each other. And what do you know, like, we don't need to proceed to stage 2 because a certain red flag has been introduced. Mine is at my age, especially, I'm mid 50s. If I were dating, I would be dating a woman 45 plus, more than likely, 45-ish, probably 50-ish. And mine would be responsibility. If her entire life she hasn't been able to hold a job, and if she's in debt, she's 45, she's had a great deal of her adult life to dig herself out of the hole, to create a career. Now, everybody has setbacks, but I want to know about history. If
Mhm.
your whole life you've just been bouncing from job to job, husband to husband, and you have multiple kids with multiple people, and you are the ultimate decider on whether or not you're going to get pregnant and stay pregnant, unless it was forced upon you, um, I'm going to think you're not responsible. And that means I have to carry your life forward and make up for your 45 years of decisions, or at
I
least
think
25 years of adult decisions.
I think you're cheating a bit with this one because it's hitting a bunch of red flags at once.
Right, right. Well, that's a huge one. I'm saying, to me, that's not a red flag. That's a black flag.
Yeah,
I'm going to think immediately, nope. If I come up, yeah, I'm making that, but it all boils down to the responsibility issue. I am kind of piling on here and throwing a lot
you're piling a lot on
of,
there.
yeah, I'm throwing a lot in the bin there. But honestly, it boils down to, are you a responsible person at all?
Hmm.
If you're consistently making bad mistakes, if you're 45, 50 and your life is a train wreck, what happened? I mean, now, of course,
Yeah.
if you just got divorced, there you're in a bad place, no matter how amicable it was. no matter how good of a career you have.
That's a red flag. If they just broke up with somebody.
Yeah, well, for long term, it's certainly a flag because you might be the rebound guy, and you don't,
Right.
even if you like them, they just not in the place to be. You might need to give them some space,
Right.
and I
You just
agree
might
with
be the
that.
shoulder to cry on for a bit.
Right, right. They have no intention of being with somebody. They just need companionship, and you're it.
Hmm.
I would say that is certainly a red flag, and I hate to do that, but just know that you're probably not going to be that long-term person if somebody, male or female. And I'm looking at this, I say guy because I'm a guy, you're a guy, and we're heterosexual, so we're looking at this from this point of view. But honestly, these things go both ways. These red flags we're talking about go both ways.
Yeah.
You just swap. It goes for just this is simply about human beings looking for another human being to have a long-term relationship with
Hmm.
and love and can be a partner with. And if you have someone who's freshly out of a divorce, they're going to be raw, their head's not going to
Hmm.
be in the right place. They're not even going to think of you in a manner that's probably justified because they're looking at you and they're just thinking about their last partner, and they're going to, anything you do is going to bring up stuff from the other person. That's not fair to you, but that's just the way it's going to be. They can't help it.
Right. Yeah. Seeking mental stability is probably a good universal rule for all creeds and genders and roles
Right,
and
right. And after
colors.
a divorce, yeah, and this is temporary. They just can't help it, and that's not a good judge, and it's not fair to the other person if they're just out of a divorce because their head's not in the right place either. So you can't judge how they really are fresh out of one. But if you're a friend of theirs and you're willing to just be a friend of theirs and hang out, that's cool. That's you can both help each other, befriend each other, and it may turn into something later.
Hmm.
But and I'd say fresh out of divorce, good red flag. But if they have been divorced, say over a year,
A
and
year. Well, it
yeah,
depends on the relationship. What if they're in
yeah.
a 20-year relationship and it's only been a year? Only been a year to me.
Well,
That's how
I,
that's
I'm
how I
not
see
going to
it.
say all their potential issues are resolved, but their headspace should be at least stable enough to look at something objectively.
I
A
think
year.
that's
Y-
subjective.
Yeah, I do think that's subjective on the individual, but you have to draw a line somewhere. You know,
Yeah, you
you
do.
You have to,
Yeah.
at some point, you have to go, okay, this person ought to be able to step back and look at the situation a bit more objectively and go, well, that's not right.
Mm.
And make a decision as to whether they think that's appropriate behavior or not. And
Right.
not go, well, I just got divorced. You got divorced a year ago. You've been through many, many types of situations and dated, I'm sure, by then. So you need to look at these things with fresh eyes. I know it's hard, but you
Yeah,
have to do it.
it's
And it's
reasonable.
and it's an adult. Again, I'm talking about somebody in their 40s, early 50s. They should be a bit more mature and able
Hmm.
to look at that more rationally than somebody who's not who all of this is fresh. If you're
Right.
freshly divorced and you're in your mid 20s, yeah, it's going to stick with you a little while. It's going to be a little raw for a little longer, I think, because you need to understand your place and how this is really going to affect you. But when you're older, things become a bit more perspective in how you look at it.
I'll build on that and I'll say not in temporary and permanent mental dis instability will be you check her medicine cabinet. She's got
Oh,
anxiety pills, depression pills, ADD pills,
yeah,
all kind of pills.
I can't disagree with you there, and this is going to anger
It's
a
gonna
lot of
anger a lot
people.
of people.
You just need to know, and we're not saying kick him to the curb. What I'm saying is
It's a red flag.
that is a red flag. You need to consider this deeply
Yeah.
because this is something that's going to affect
You don't know how they're gonna
everything.
react in certain situations.
Yeah, it's going to affect everything, and you can't reason with somebody like that.
Yeah.
It's a real issue that
Yeah.
you have to deal with every waking moment, and you don't know how it's going to affect you. And the decisions they make are going to affect you for the rest of your life potentially, and theirs too. And you have zero control. And here's the thing: they might have zero control over it too, and that's the issue.
Right. I think the fundamental issue with it is the inconsistency causes stress on trust because you can't trust them to
Oh,
be a certain person all the time, and that's
unpredictability is monstrous, and that
mhm,
goes to my original one of responsibility. they can't be responsible for their actions. So do you
Right.
want to be with somebody who can't be responsible for their actions? I don't mean aren't responsible because they've made a decision to not be, and that's just their personality, but can't,
I'm a Capricorn.
right? Yeah, can't be responsible. It is a real mental issue, and they have no control over it.
Mhm.
So know that you're going in there eyes wide open and you're willing to deal with that. If you're not prepared to deal with that, you may have your own issues and you simply can't deal with that. Then you need to think long and hard about it.
Yeah. Another stage into that is not quite a stage into that, but an immediate red flag to me, and this is going to get a lot of haters again, is if they're on social media a lot.
Yeah, yeah, I don't disagree. And the problem is define a lot.
Mine's very biased, so I'm going to try to not be so biased because I'm sure a lot of people's regiment of social media is a lot more than mine.
Yeah,
so,
you're right. You're
so
not on at all. I'll say
yeah,
this, if a significant portion of their life or they seem like their second life is on social media,
yeah,
you may need to have a talk. Unless you're okay with that because
yeah,
you have your own things you want to do, but I'd say that's not much of a relationship. And
yeah.
again, that's just my opinion.
Mhm.
However, there's nothing wrong with checking, updating, looking at friends, checking in. I don't see that as an issue because you're using it as a communication device and sharing things with friends and family. Nothing wrong with that. That's exactly what it's for. But if they live and die by people's decisions on social media and just have to get something out and they take time out of your day and their day throughout the day to
Yeah.
put things up on social media and constantly refer to it, that's a problem for me. That is definitely a red flag. And some would say that anything on TikTok or OnlyFans is
Those are not comparable, by the way. I think you might think they are. Those are not comparable.
yeah, I don't know much about them. I don't look
That's
at
a
them.
boomer coming out. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't look at them. I would say an OnlyFans account. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's a black flag. If
that's a
she has a
black flag.
oh,
That's it.
if she has an OnlyFans,
Yeah, that's not a red flag. That's just critical
that's
hit.
get out.
Done. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're.
that's
It's
a get
over.
out. That's
Yeah,
abort mission immediately.
I would have to say, yeah, hit the eject button and parachute to safety. Yeah, I
Yeah,
would have to agree. Um, TikTok, I don't know. I tried it. It was so annoying to me. Constant alerts, constant vying for your attention whenever you would look at something else on your phone or try to do something worthwhile on your phone. TikTok would jump in your face. And it annoyed me so badly, I simply deleted the app. Even though at times it was humorous and had some pretty cool stuff on it, it simply wasn't worth it. It was one of those things where the juice was not worth the squeeze on this particular app. I couldn't abide it. I had to get rid of it. And that might have been my boomer coming out, but I couldn't. It was annoying.
yeah. I can't speak anything other than that with you about it because I feel the same way. I cannot deal with them being. I'm more than an hour is pushing it. If you're on it and we're around each other and I don't spend all day with you, that's weird to me already because I'm already spending time with you. I'm taking the time out of my day of we to enjoy each other's
Right?
presence.
And that's a
And
good way to look at it. You're
yeah,
there, you took the time to be there in person and took time and you expect some attention, reciprocation,
hmm
something, and they're just staring at their phone for 15, 20, 30 minutes at a time, talking to
yeah,
people who didn't even bother to contact them in the first place because they're on this social media platform and they're living their life through there. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with checking in with people or sending messages and using it as a communication device. That's what it's for. But it's another thing when you're taking your life away from somebody who's willing to be there in person and spend time with you and devote it to the phone in front of them constantly throughout the day. That is a major issue for me. Or you're
immediate,
willing to listen to those people instead of you who's standing there in
right.
front of you and you're giving them priority over the guy or girl standing next to you. Because I'm sure some guys do it too. I just don't know any myself, but I'm sure some do.
So I'm not sure how far you want to go into as in first stage, but I can go a couple other easy ones.
Sure, let's
Is
hear it. I have a few myself.
uh crazy dyed hair already out.
Oh, that's a flag.
Huge flag.
That's like a peacocking. Like I'm a cuckoo person, and you're going to deal with issues if you try to date me long term because I
Blue,
have
pink, purple.
I have magenta hair. It's like
I'm
a
out.
yeah, you're done.
I'm out. Dog mom under
Yeah.
her profile. Cat mom under her profile. I'm out.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're looking at profiles. See, I don't even think about profiles. I'm just talking about the person. That started becoming a thing in the 80s, punk rock and all that, and people
Too
started
many piercings.
using that's too much for you too, huh?
These are to me, I'm very picky, so
It
unfortunately, these are
seems that way because I'm a little more forgiving than you are. I'm okay with the hair because to me it's
if
an
you have weird
intention,
hair, you better be really cool.
yeah, to overcome what you're showing everybody, right?
Hmm.
And that's how I am too, because I've known people with colorful hair, that peacock green and blue, or the magenta and red, or even yellow streaks with some orange highlights and other stuff, and they were fine. I'm sure they had something. I don't know why they did it. I didn't ask them, and that's the other
Hmm.
thing. I pretend like it's just your hair. That's
Now,
your thing.
when how old were these women when you saw them doing this?
Oh, this was like last year.
Okay, so they were probably much older, I would
No, one
assume.
was one was maybe 5 years younger than me. The others were
Okay,
younger.
that's
We were
much
around your
older for
age.
me.
Yeah, we're around your age. The other ones were around
Okay,
your age and
okay,
had the peacock hair, which I thought didn't look good, but that was their thing, and I didn't address it. I didn't ask them about it. Didn't care. I just
yeah.
talked to them like their hair was their regular brunette color, and they acted like I was talking to them like they're. I made no mention of it whatsoever, and there was nothing said about it, and they were fine. But I
I
wasn't
would
trying to date them. They were.
exactly.
It was. It
There's
was. It was a daughter of a close friend of
very
mine. So there
very
you are.
casual conversation with these type of people. Very easy to do. They love to
Right.
talk, if anything.
Right.
That's not a problem. It's when you start digging under those layers, you start
Right. When
finding
you're trying to have a
the
long-term
skeletons in the
relationship, you need to
closet.
find out, okay, what's going on. I will say this: I don't believe I've seen any of these women in long-term relationships. So that may be a
That's
clue.
a telling sign as well.
Now the older one was she just decided to do it as a whim. It lasted about a month, and then
Hmm.
that was that.
So that's what I was going to get at is depending on the age of the women. To me, when you do this as a younger age, like 18 to
Right.
25, it's a
Right.
much different uh, perspective or expression you're trying to give off to the rest of the world than a woman who's
Sure. I mean, you're
45
making
doing
a
this.
statement,
Yeah,
loudly.
a
I'll say
45-year-old woman
this:
doing it is a lot different to me.
I have never seen a man with colorful hair that way in a long-term relationship, and the only
Oh,
ones I have seen like that were gay.
well,
So,
yeah,
I mean,
it's a very
it
feminine
was
trait to
obvious
do
they were
that.
gay. It wasn't like, how did you know? Well, their boyfriend was had their hand in their pocket, so it seemed pretty obvious to me they were gay. It was. I
But
wasn't making a giant leap of
yeah,
deduction, you know. So,
well, at the time, you was trying to get my number, so I had to assume things
no,
were a
it was
certain way.
they were gay. I haven't seen. I'm sure there's the occasional straight guy with blonde highlights or something that's trying to put on that beach guy
Yeah,
vibe. Or
the NSYNC Backstreet Boy thing is coming back apparently.
is it?
The
Yeah. See,
frosted
I
tips.
just remember that from back in the day,
Yeah,
and
early
I'll say this:
2000s.
I knew them as guys, and if I were a woman knowing what I knew about them, I wouldn't have dated them. So it's a certain red flag. I have to give it to you. I'm not saying kick him to the curb. It's not a black flag. It's a red flag.
I'm very picky, so
Yeah, yeah.
I
And
would
this,
say
you know
there's a red
what?
flag for most people though.
And here's the thing: everybody should be picky. And I'll say another thing: the most important decision you can make is who you're going to partner up with. It's going to affect the rest of your life and how it goes from here on out. And people don't look at it that way. It's more important than buying a house. It's more important than starting a business. Who you marry. So be picky.